So I think as a marketer, my job is not only to say what problems we can solve, but to communicate the vision of what this enabling technology creates, which is personalized, accessible care from the comfort of your own home that actually works for you and your unique body.
And it's a great lesson for anyone listening who's trying to market their technology, especially if it's like a medical device, that it's your business's success depends on relationships with customers, relationships with employees, and relationships with stakeholders. What do they all have in common? They're all human. Because no matter if your business is B2B or B2C, it's really H to H, human to human. Welcome to the Human Connection Podcast. I'm your host, Karl Pontau. Each week I'll bring you stories, insights, and practical advice from experts that you can apply to your growing company and daily life. This week I'm excited to connect with Rachel Allard. Rachel is a marketing leader with 17 years of experience growing startups in the CPG, SaaS, prop tech, and med tech industries. As VP of Marketing at Resonant Link Medical, she has launched multiple new products, contributed 83% of new revenue from marketing, and transformed the company from an unknown player to a leader in wireless power for medical devices. Rachel specializes in crafting compelling messaging, building high-performance teams, and developing integrated marketing strategies that drive qualified leads, customer loyalty, and revenue growth. Previously, she led digital marketing and advertising for 140 plus grocery retailers and 300 plus CPG brands at My Web Grocer, partnered with 200 plus real estate companies on marketing and customer acquisition at Union Street Media, and served in leadership roles responsible for marketing, sales, operations, and product development. She has served on multiple boards and nonprofit leadership teams, including as chair of the board of directors for North County Federal Credit Union and as a member of the Girl Develop at Burlington leadership team. Her passion for healthcare marketing is deeply personal. Her own experiences navigating the healthcare system underscored the importance of clear, impactful communication to connect clinicians and patients with the right solutions. She brings this mission-driven approach to her work, cutting through the noise to help medical device companies develop new and next-generation products that will change lives. On her best days, you can find Rachel at the top of a mountain with a book or adventuring with her husband, Eric, and two kids, Lucy and Noelle. Congrats on your success with Resonant Link Medical, and welcome to the Human Connection Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So I really enjoyed our discussion we had recently about the medical device marketing and sales and how important it is that with how the technical side is so important, but how important it is to not forget that it's still human you're working with and how to bring emotion and empathy to that process. So tell me more about how you do that for your customers and your clients.
Yeah, that's a great question. And if it's all right, let me back up a couple of steps just to say, firstly, thank you for that introduction. It feels like maybe like 50 years of stuff packed into almost 2 decades, but that's the start of life. If you know, you know. I would say I really knew nothing about the medical device industry 4 years ago. I've been at Resonant Link Medical for almost 3 years, and a series of personal health events with my family and myself led me to want to dive into the healthcare industry and help be part of the solution that I saw was kind of better, more informed care. And I didn't know how to do that because I didn't have a healthcare background. And I was talking to a friend, and I remember him saying, but you've always marketed technical products. And, you know, health tech and med tech, that is a technical product. And so I actually think I was lucky to have that advice and to be able to pivot to join a medical technology startup and contribute my expertise, which before had been, yes, as you mentioned, in the consumer packaged goods tech space and software as a service, in property technology or prop tech, which is basically just real estate software. So the common thread through all those experiences and what I've found being in this role and leading marketing for Resonant Link Medical is that every technology is only as good as its customers' experience with it. So you can have a group of the brightest people in the world with the best, most cutting edge invention. And if people don't think they can use it, can't actually use it, and don't want to talk about how they're using it, you're not going to have adoption. And so the best technology with no adoption doesn't get anywhere. So I was really lucky again that friend gave me that advice, and I realized I could actually help make our technology successful through communicating how people can actually use it, and then also better understanding what our customers' experience actually is going to look like, and informing our engineering and our product team to make sure that they really had that mindset centered in their kind of design and the product evolution.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I know it's a common trope that the engineering team gets really excited about the science and the tech and what they're developing, but because they're so good at the technical side of things, or the science and the engineering, not as great at the human to human communication side of things, that what they develop is often great for if they're going to sell to themselves, but when they try and market it or explain its value to someone who doesn't have a bunch of degrees in the same area of expertise, you just get these blank stares with like, I don't understand anything you just said. And it's a common problem for a lot of kind of engineer-led or engineer-founded startups where you're trying to spin a piece of technology out from a lab or from another company. If you can't explain its value and have people experience it in those simple kind of layman terms, you're just going to fail. And it's really sad how many potentially groundbreaking, life-changing solutions to challenges that are plaguing people, especially in the health tech space, don't succeed simply because they're not able to explain that value and market it clearly enough.
100%. Yeah. And I think just as an overview for what we do at Resonant Link Medical, we build wireless power for medical devices inside and on the body to help people get well, stay well wherever they are. And people who need these kinds of medical devices often aren't thinking about the power component. It's ideally they're not thinking about it if things are going well, the charging is easy. Because kind of the worst case scenario is that they're worried about their battery running out for, let's say, their pacemaker that's helping regulate their heart function or replace some function that they've lost. And so for us, we have this tricky situation where we're a component of medical devices. We're not the whole thing. So we need to sell to medical device companies the value of our technology, of better wireless power and what that enables, while also recognizing that their customer, hospital networks, and then doctors and their customer, patients, they don't want to think about power. So we need to connect the dots and help them understand what better wireless power means and what the capabilities that our power enables, how they translate to a better patient experience. It's almost like you can imagine your house and like the lights being on, and you don't walk into your house thinking like, oh, it's so great, the lights are on today, but you know when the lights go out, right? And when the power goes out, and you don't want that happening, right? With medical devices, I mean, that could literally endanger somebody's life. But you also want to get the credit for keeping the lights on without, scaring them at the possibility it's going to go out.
Yeah, I think it falls into the category of services, like a lot of stuff like cybersecurity or like utilities, or like the kind of cable internet sort of stuff, where when it works, it's kind of thankless because people just expect it to work, and you only really get people's attention when it doesn't. And so the brand or like the reputation of the company is often has a negative slant to it because people don't really think about it when it's not working. But in your case, because if it doesn't work, then someone's potentially going to be dead. There's a lot more at stake. And so I think it makes sense that for your role when you're trying to market your batteries to specific manufacturers as that key component. That's probably one of I'd imagine a big selling point is if we make the battery to the spec you need and make it work for your device, then they'll avoid all the kind of negative PR or backlash of the device is not working. And I think we talked about, like, you sometimes get brought in when a device is in a clinical trial and that's happening, where like the battery is not working properly or it's overheating or has some issues, and companies go, oh my gosh, help us fix this thing. We need a different battery. And it's all the technical side of things is important, but what's going to make that sale for them at that point is not the specs as much as it's how they're feeling, the super pressure to get the clinical trial back on track and solve this human experience of the tech side of things, not just the technical sale. And that's a really interesting balance you must have to deal with.
Yes, absolutely. And I think for us, so there's I'll separate the two buckets of sort of like the product requirements, right? What our customers look for from us. And then there's also the kind of the future we're building together. I would say, like, the brand aspiration, what we enable. And so if we kind of unpack those two things, and I think Resonant Link Medical is a wireless power company. So we actually work with any kind of battery that a medical device uses. We make the power components. And so there are the must-haves there, right? Like, today, the drawbacks of power are either you have devices in your body that the battery runs out of power and they need to be completely replaced through a surgery. Nobody wants extra surgeries just to replace an entire device, an entire battery. And also there's a lot of waste there, right? You're throwing out actually a lot of components, the battery, where you could be recharging it. So there's an environmental, a cost, a sustainability impact. The alternative to battery replacement surgeries are you can either have a driveline, a power cord, that people who have ventricular assist devices that help their heart pump blood, that is actually a power cord that goes from inside their body out of their belly button and attaches to a battery pack on their hip. It causes infections, there's complications with that, of course. And then you could already have a rechargeable battery, but typically today with conventional wireless, rechargeable batteries require people to sit really still to recharge. It's kind of like your cell phone. And when you put it on a charging pad, you have that like one spot where if it's not lined up perfectly, it won't recharge. Well, that's not helpful for people. That's actually not enabling a better life for them if they have to sit still for hours at a time to recharge their device that's helping replace body function. So those are the must-haves for us. Like, we have to replace these ineffective ways of powering devices. And we do that through our wireless power, which is more efficient. It's basically a different coil structure, which gets really technical, where, more power that's sent is actually received by the device inside the body. In addition to like the must-haves, we have then what we enable. So we're an enabling technology, just like you can think about internet. When we went from dial-up to broadband, you had things that weren't even possible because the internet connection was so slow before. So you can't have Netflix and streaming entertainment without faster internet. Same thing with us. What can you not have without more efficient wireless power? Well, you can't have personalized medicine, as one example. So today, there are technologies that are adaptive to your body and what your body needs, where the device inside your body can actually say to an outside controller, this person, Karl, is experiencing pain in this area. Send a little electric stimulation and get in front of that nerve receptor, actually stop this person from feeling pain. Now, how all of our bodies work are different. So the smarter the device, the better able the device is to know exactly how you experience pain differently from how I experience pain, the more effective it can be in actually treating and stopping that pain. So that's what our power enables, is it enables more data, smaller devices that can actually go in more body types. So I'm a petite person, I might not have enough room in my chest for a certain type of device based on the size now. And other things that are not possible without more power. So I think as a marketer, my job is not only to say what problems we can solve, but to communicate the vision of what this enabling technology creates, which is personalized, accessible care from the comfort of your own home that actually works for you and your unique body.
And it's a great lesson for anyone listening who's trying to market their technology, especially if it's like a medical device, that it's there'll be some members of the audience of like your ideal client or customer who cares about all the technical specs, who wants to know the technical breakdown because they're the CTO of a hospital and that's their jam. But if you're talking to the head physicians or the people in charge of the marketing for the hospital or the people in charge of like patient relationships or stuff, they're more focused on, again, that enablement part of what can we do that we couldn't do before with this technology and how is it going to impact people's lives. And so having that multiple messaging beyond just the technical side, even though the technical side is really important for closing those deals, you need to also have the human side and that human impact. And especially comparing it, like you said, between like dial-up versus broadband, comparing it to what's the limitations of the current technology and how you enable them to do things that aren't possible before, and then the technology side of things backs up that claim with, oh, wow, you can actually do that. How can you possibly do that? And here's the tech that enables it. And they go, okay, that makes sense. That tracks scientifically, and that moves the deal forward. But if you just launch in with just throwing a really detailed 60-page white paper about all the tech at people, the CTO might be interested, but he probably has, or he or she has 50 of those in their inbox every week. And so what's going to get them to go, ooh, this seems like it's worth me diving into, is going to be that thing that evokes the right emotion, which is that, oh my gosh, this is going to help people not to sit in a chair and be static while they get their tech recharged. Even that level of impact on the human side of things is going to go, okay, that's really cool, because we heard a lot of complaints about our current technology requiring this sort of stuff. That's been a pain point. But then it's such more effective marketing and messaging and sales when you go beyond the feature stack and onto here's why people really care about this, because it impacts their lives in a meaningful way.
100%. Yeah. And I feel really grateful that I work with a team of very smart PhDs and engineers. I'm one of the few non-engineering employees by design. We actually, Resonant Link Medical, we had over a dozen customers and had proven our product market fit, our product value, that there was actually demand for it, and had worked for 3 years before we even looked at hiring a commercial team member. We don't have a sales team. And so from the standpoint of kind of coming in as the only non-technical person, it's been really great just being able to, I don't really believe there are dumb questions, but ask the simple questions and just say well, explain to me actually how. The team might use a term that I don't understand, and I can be the one to say, what does that actually mean? For the sake of what? Why would we do this? And we actually have 2 pieces of collateral, or 2 pieces of content for every single product we have. We have what we call the technical data sheet, which is a very detailed, 15 to 20 page document, depending on the product, that goes through exactly how all the pieces connect, how they work, the software behind them, the charts of here's the data that actually shows that, the power systems don't heat up, all the safety pieces we need. We have those technical data sheets, but then we also have one-pagers. So we have the one-pager data sheet and the technical data sheet, and they're the same product we're talking about. But we have to be able to explain in one page, 3 bullets, why would anyone want this on the one pager? And then the technical data sheet is more what is the proof that this is actually going to do that thing? And the combination of those two things is really, really powerful. We actually use them both in the sales process, depending on who we're talking to. Because you have to be able to talk to the whole buying committee. Probably people listening to this understand that you have multiple people involved in any purchase, especially a purchase of significance that is going to change your capabilities of your product. We're talking about how devices are powered. That's a pretty big design decision for these companies. So they should go through it with a fine-tooth comb, but they're going to have different members of the team who want to understand different pieces. And then I would say for us overall, one of the things we did early on too was we created a brand architecture that, for me, that's basically like the blueprint for how you talk to people. It's the personality of your company, what you promise. It's not how the products work. It's more like, as a company, this is who I am and what's important to us. And for us, like, the number one thing is expert and approachable. We show our expertise through things like a technical data sheet, through sending customers hardware they can play with. We call them our demonstration kits, but we never talk to them as PhDs, right? Like, we talk to people from an approachable, they have to understand what we're saying. So we strip jargon from our material. Like, if somebody who is not an electromagnetics engineer doesn't understand this, then we're not saying it the right way. And that's kind of like our litmus test, because you can always provide more detail. But if you start from a place where you're going to be talking over some people's heads, you're just going to lose them. And you don't, we need to start at that level to be able to really, have those conversations and make sure we're not missing out on bringing the people in from the buying committee who aren't as technical.
Yeah, I've heard it actually shows more mastery and kind of genius on a topic if you can explain it clearly to someone who doesn't already know all the details, versus just spouting a bunch of jargon. Well, thank you so much for connecting with me today, Rachel. If you enjoyed this episode of the Human Connection podcast, please leave a review, and share it. If you'd like to connect with myself or Rachel, check out the links in the show notes. And remember, no matter if your business is B2B or B2C, it's really H to H, human to human. Happy connecting.
Thank you so much.